Hey everyone, welcome to today's topic. And the topic of the day is, should I buy a house now, or is now the right time to buy a house in today's super competitive housing market? And I wanted to create this video because I'm on a couple Facebook groups, first time homebuyer Facebook groups, and I constantly see these new first time homebuyers being very frustrated in trying to buy a house, trying to achieve that American dream. And I completely understand. Right now, trying to buy a house is like, in terms of competition level, it seems like you're playing in the NFL where the competition is just really high. And I see first-time home buyers getting outbid left and right, whether it's 10, 20, 30K, and they're coming back with tears of frustration, expressing their views on Facebook. So I wanted to better educate you on why housing is a little more expensive these days, or should I say very expensive these days, to give you some perspective on where we're at. And also kind of maybe shed a little bit of light if you can wait to buy a house. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. And let me give you a little bit of context on why housing is so expensive. I feel that the better that you're informed about the environment that you're operating in, the more confident your housing decisions will be. So, without further ado, let's jump on in. So, to just give you a general outlook of the housing environment, guys, we are in a bull cycle run. We are 9 years, I believe, 9 years into the upcycle of real estate. Real estate goes in cycles. There are up years and there are down years. And typically speaking, if you look through historically, we usually have 7 up years where prices are rising and super competitive, and then it's followed by 5 down years, and it just goes up, as a wave. So up and down as a wave. So right now we're in the ninth year, which is a little bit unusual. And I've been waiting for a down cycle for the last couple of years. I'm still waiting for it. I saw a Wall Street Journal article the other day, I think it was a week and a half ago, where we had 24% appreciation year over year from last year. And it was May numbers, I believe. And for those out there who are not acclimated to the housing market or doesn't know the history of it, that is an insane number of appreciation. Usually, housing only appreciates 2, 3 to 6% per year. Of course, depending on where you're at. But when they punch out numbers like record numbers, when we have 24% nationally on average, I believe, uh, that is just not sustainable. We are in a hot, frothy market. So just to let you guys know that, and let's move on to the next topic. All right, guys. So, what's happening with housing all across the United States? I want to bring up a topic, a subject that most people probably do not know about, and it's this thing called the Great American Move. And it's by this real estate expert named John Burns that you can see up top here. And he wrote a book called The Big Shifts Ahead, which is a tremendous book that I highly recommend you read. But what he talks about is this great American move. And so you see here, I'm scrolling down here, is that a lot of people from the coast right now, from the West Coast to the East Coast, they're migrating out of these areas into these green areas, these inner areas in Florida and Austin and Phoenix. And it's a massive move that's happening right now. And this is contributing to the housing increases that's that's happening in America or happening all over pretty much. And the reason why a lot of people are moving today is that they're looking for a better quality of life, lower taxes, and a lower cost of living, and trying at the same time raising their quality of life at the same time, if that makes sense. So we see on the one end with New York and California, we all know that these places on the coast are super expensive. Especially, I live in San Francisco, so I know how much housing costs here, but also the taxes that people pay here are through the roof. And so they're moving to new places in America. And if you're actually trying to buy a house in these new places, whether it's Austin, Phoenix, or in Nevada, Las Vegas, or Tennessee, or the Southeast right here, or even Florida, you're going to be you're going to have a lot of competition. And so that's what is happening right now. That's contributing to the high hot housing market. For those interested in John Burns' book called Big Shifts Ahead, I have a link to it down below, and I highly recommend it. You'll have a greater understanding if you're in these regions where people are moving to, why they're moving there and what they're searching for. And I think it will educate you guys better on what you're up against in terms of competition. But also, I think it will help by reading this book. I think it will really help you understand what is going on in these growing areas, but also give you more confidence in your decisions. So, with that being said, the link's down below if you guys are interested. But let's move on. So, with that being said, what's also contributing to the housing market or how competitive these days? Well, I want to share another screen with you. This is a Wall Street report that was just released about three weeks ago that basically says that we are in need of 5.5 million more units. So we builders in the United States have not kept up with the population growth. And this has been ongoing for the last few decades or few years or more. So this is also contributing to why houses are so expensive. It's basically a supply and demand issue. So, guys, the last two things I talked about, which is basically the Great American Move and also the lack of housing supply, is greatly contributing or exacerbating this housing market to be very competitive. Now, you can also throw in that, we have the lowest interest rates ever in our 50-year history, and that's certainly contributing to why housing prices are going up as well. And also, in addition, the millennial generation, which is the biggest generation in the United States, now they're jumping into the housing market looking for houses. So you got all these ingredients, different factors, basically a hodgepodge contributing to why there's a humongous increase in housing prices per, the Wall Street Journal article of 24%, which is, as I said, crazy. But going back to the original question, and the question is, should I buy a house now, or is now the time to buy a house for you? I don't think there's a black and white answer to it. I do want to parse my answer to you in a couple different ways where maybe you can get some clarity out of it. And so there's the financial side of it, and then there's the quality of life or stage of your life side of it, right? So I think people sometimes get confused or get muddled through the decision process because you're kind of mixing two sides. It's the financial side, and then there's the quality of life side. And sometimes those two don't match up. But let me kind of like dissect that for a second, guys, and talk about firstly the financial side. So now is not the greatest time to buy a house, obviously, due to this competitive market. It's always, from the financial side, you always want a good deal, right? And now it doesn't seem to be a time where you can get good deals since everyone seems to be overbidding in a lot of markets. But what I do want to emphasize that is if you do buy a house now or want to, and you just feel it in your bones, make sure you can afford the monthly payment. And what I mean by that is like easily afford that monthly payment through the up times and the down times because you're financially responsible for that house. Whether you lose your job or you change jobs, etc., right? And also, another thing I wanted to emphasize is that make sure your decision to buy a house is a long-term decision. And I'm talking about a 7 to 10 year decision because that's what it is. Buying houses, you cannot easily get in and out in most cases. And if you do sell early within a year or shorter, you tend to lose money and you don't want to do that. So, with that being said, two things if you guys do buy a house now is make sure you can easily afford the mortgage payments and also make sure it's a long-term outlook or a long-term decision. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is for people who do want to buy a house now is that it many times it's a quality of life or what I say quality of life or stage of your life decision. And that sometimes doesn't always match up to a financial decision. So if you are starting a family, or if you just got married and you want to move out to the burbs and you want, or you move to a different stage of your life, it's okay to go move forward and buy a house, even in this up market where you're not getting the best deal. And again, I want to emphasize is that make sure it's a long-term decision that you do buy this if you move forward. Okay, buying houses is a long-term decision always, never a short-term. For those who can actually wait to buy a house, I highly recommend you do so. If you wait for a down cycle in real estate, in a down market, you guys are going to get definitely a better deal in terms of prices, where you just don't have to overbid all the time. You're going to get less home buyers, and you're going to get better terms. So for those that can wait, I would highly recommend you do so. You'll get a better deal. But I highly understand for those that cannot wait, because life moves on and people are at different stages in their life. So with that being said, I hope you guys got some value from this video, and I hope it informed your decision on the housing market better. If so, please hit that like and subscribe button for me to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And please check out my other videos where I talk about housing and other investments and financial freedom. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care.